I got burnt up in that Corvette.
Yeah.
Like for the first 2 weeks, man, I couldn't walk. Like I had to lay down. And I'm still kind of needing a little bit of help with my seat belts and stuff. And you come over there and I asked you to tighten it up.
Yes.
Tighten up the left belt. And you're yanking on that damn thing and something slipped and you punched me right in the top of the thigh. That was the most painful
There was a GD moment.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just hit me there. And I'm like, I didn't mean to, you know.
The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media. All right, so it's time for another Dale Jr. Download here, the guest segment, and we've got Kevin Pennell coming in here for part 2 of the interview that we're doing with him. We had him on earlier. Kevin's been a big part of my career from the Xfinity days all the way through the Bud years and beyond, and we only got to part of that in the first episode, so we brought him in, and we're going to finish it up. There's a lot here to talk about, all the Bud days and then the shift away from DEI and Stewart Haas Racing and so forth. So let's get Kevin in here and get started. Two Beer, Kevin Pennell back on the Dale Jr. Download. We had such a good time and ran out of time, honestly. I don't even remember where we left off. Where did we end?
Oh,
had we gotten into the Bud days yet?
I thought we just got into the rookie part of the Bud days.
The rookie part. Well, let's just start right there.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, you were the jack man on the AC Delco crew going into the Cup Series, and you kind of lived the whole thing, all the Bud days, from a pretty cool vantage point.
Right.
Great friends with Tony Sr., Tony Jr., family, related. Tony Jr. married your sister, so you and Tony Jr. are tight as could be. And so now here we are, moving into the Cup Series as rookies. We built a couple cars and ran a few races in '99. We talked about going to Japan and racing there,
right,
and having fun. And now we're going to go run in the Cup Series. What do you remember, I suppose, about going into that, was that a pinch me moment for you, I guess, to think, man, I can't believe just a few years ago I wasn't even on a race team. I wasn't even
right.
Here I am 6-8 years later, I'm in the Cup Series.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
Right.
A lot of work.
Yeah. Y'all work some damn crazy hours.
Crazy. And that's one thing you think about now compared to then. I mean, back then, 7 days a week, no days off, until things were done. And that being said, minimum on staff too, people, and resources were there, but the resources, technology-wise, I would say, we thought we were good, but what we were seeing other people,
Like what?
Just, cars that they were building, we were running against, were way, I ain't saying way better, but better,
yeah.
And you had to get to that level. You'd come home, you cut bodies off, you'd put a bigger fender on or narrow right front fender or change the whole body, and, that right there, production, put you behind.
Yeah. So do you remember what Dad was like? We're going to go out there and race against him. Do you remember Bristol when he wrecked? He wrecked Elliott Sadler in front of us.
Yeah.
And we got knocked out.
We got knocked out. I believe we were trying to fix it, and we were welding truck arm mounts on underneath the car.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when your dad found out that Tony Sr. welded a set of truck arm mounts underneath that thing to put you back out there to go run. He flipped his lid. He was like, "You got to be kidding me. You put a set of truck arm mounts on that car at the racetrack?" And we were like, "Yeah, whatever it takes to get back out there,
We got back out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Dad comes up right before the race and walks up to me, and he's starting behind Elliott Sadler. And he walks up to Elliott and me and Elliott's talking. He goes, "You two boys, just kind of take it easy. It's a tough race, blah, 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 blah. Y'all be good. You'll get a good finish." Lap 1, he run in the back of Sadler and turned him in front of me, and I wrecked, and I was madder than hell. You sent me back out on the racetrack, and Dad's lapping me, and I tore the damn right side off his car. You remember that?
Yep.
And Richard come down and said something. Richard Childers.
Yep. he was pretty much like parked that damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like Martinsville.
Golly, that was a tough one.
Same concept.
We hit everything.
Hit everything. Even hit the record on the way in.
Yeah, trying to get behind the wall to fix the sway
to
bar.
fix the sway. That's what it's.
Well, I think it was my first Cup race at Martinsville. We didn't race there in the Xfinity Series, so I hadn't been there in years, and it was a battle, and it'll chew you up. But we ran into all kinds of things. But one thing I remember, and Michael Waltrip tells this story. So we're at Martinsville, and we're racing along, and we got behind. We got lapped. And I'm lining up on the inside on a restart. I got me some new tires, and we fired off, and I drove away about a straightaway in front of the leaders. And I'm driving as hard as I can drive that thing. And then the rest of the race plays out. We wreck and tear all kinds of shit up, drug the sway bar arm off, and just all kinds of problems and of my doing. And by the end of the race, I ain't got no fenders, and I'm running back there in the back trying to stay out of the way. And I go down into the corner underneath Dave Blaney or on his outside and somehow jumped his right rear tire. And it launched me into the outside wall, bit the steering wheel over the steering column, hit the wall harder than And Dad comes over the radio and says, "I think it's about time for him to park that thing." And Richard said, "Yeah, I don't believe you got to worry about that. It's pretty much done this time." And man, that was a hell of a hit. I still have that steering wheel from that race. But we get in the helicopter to go home, and Dad's, I don't know where he finished, but he's looking at me. He's like, "Damn, boy, what the hell? You know, what was your damn problem today?" And I was like, "You didn't see me yard the leaders on that one little restart?" I was like, I did pretty good then.
But, even that, to define a moment out of that whole deal, even as bad as we ran there, Pops is like, we're not going to never do that again.
Yeah.
Went back up, tested for 2 days, and put some laps on that racetrack.
Yeah.
Between, and a lot of major changes. And I would say that was the turning moment, and how we went back and performed after that.
We always ran good at Martinsville after that. Yeah. One of the things that we learned was taking, and this was in your department, I believe. We took the spring bucket perch off the left rear trailing arm, and we put a tungsten piece there.
We put a tungsten lower block.
Tungsten lower block.
Yeah.
All right. So unsprung weight. And what else? And
we rev chip. We set the rev chip to come in at all times. Keep you from driving into it. Yeah. And we lowered the cross member, you know what I mean? So it would hit at a certain point in time.
So I couldn't overdrive it.
Exactly. Because it was about burying it.
Yeah,
we had to back you up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, damn.
Yep.
Well, we got her dialed in. I always loved that damn tungsten lowering block, keeping driving the car. And we used it in Hendrick. When I went to Hendrick and run some, I was like, man, I got to have that. That was drive. But it's illegal as hell. But what are some of the other things that we did to our cars to trick them up every now and then? I know we rarely got too far outside the rule.
Yeah.
Well, how was Tony Jr. and Tony Sr. in terms of following the guidelines?
Straight to the, we would build things as max as you can build them.
Yeah.
But
there was always these kind of things that weren't necessarily rules. Like I remember Tony Jr. talking about stacking the decals on the roof in front of the camera on at the plate races. We always had we always had a camera, right? So on any kind of vantage point, there was going to be Bud decals, and they're like, well, instead of one little decal, let's put 4 thick ones,
right, and stack them,
and it'll knock the wind over that.
We even had the wedge that we put the decal on at one time in front of the camera. I don't remember which speedway race it was, but I remember the wedge that mounted there, and strictly gave it to the PR guy to put it on because we couldn't put it on.
You couldn't put it on.
No, we was like, stick this on when it gets on pit road and just stick it on. But, that stuff at DEI was really frowned upon. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was. But working to that edge, that gray area, was always where, we would put things.
Yeah.
And, if there was a rule and it said it in the rule book, no, we didn't touch it. But if we had to create a rule, we went that route. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
what are some of your memories from that Rookie of the Year season?
I would say, the wins, they're always memories. But even the hard work is the biggest thing.
Do you remember going and testing for the All-Star race?
Yeah.
So as the way I remember it, we're out there testing. We'd been there for the majority of the, later afternoon. It was a test that went from like 4 o'clock to 9 or something like that. And we're out there running, and we're okay. We're top 10 for sure, maybe top 5 on the board, feeling pretty good. And we're in this All-Star. We're sitting there like, damn, we're just thrilled to be in it, because we weren't going to be in it, and then we won a couple races right out of the gate. We're just like, man, this is awesome. So it's All-Star practice. There's about 20 cars, and we're out there running. I remember Dale Jarrett being really fast for some reason. And then right at the end of the night, Tony Jr.'s like, I want you to go out there and just run 10 laps. I was like, okay. And I went out there and ran 10 laps, and it was freaking way faster. And I was like, all right, I think we just simulated the final break, the final segment, 10-lap segment. That was when the All-Star race was like 75 laps, 50 laps, 10. And we were really fast. And what Tony Jr. had done was pulled all the fuel out of it.
Yep.
And it only had enough fuel for the most part to be able to run those 10 laps. And that added so much grip in the car. We were able to, really kind of, if it would turn, it was going to get tight because of the nose weight, but if it would turn, it was going to be great. And it was badass, so locked down. And, that was kind of the moment where I thought, damn, we might have something for them. We went out there in the first segment, full tank of fuel. And we're sitting there running third behind, I think, Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace, I think. And I slapped the wall off turn 4.
Yep.
And I was like, I've ruined it. Because it hit pretty hard. But it actually started driving better after that. I think I knocked the rear end housing back on the right side and gave it some skew accidentally. We're sitting there in the final segment. They've been a bunch of damn crashing, and field's kind of weeded out. We ran like 1 or 2 laps, and the caution come out in that final 10-lap segment. And the radio conversation was, Tony Sr., I think, said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't think I can win it like this. We were 4th. I can't remember where we're running, but I was like, I can't win. We're not going to win. We're not fast enough. Well, come on down here. We'll put some tires on. What the hell? And so we came down and put tires on, and I mean, that was the damn difference maker. Just a couple laps more, better tire, right?
Right.
And we drove through the field and ended up passing Dale Jarrett and winning the race. What do you remember from that night?
But in the same sense, one thing I would say is, like, went over there and tested Charlotte, for the 600, the All-Star race and all that. And I'll never forget, Richie kept asking, how you feel about the motor, how you feel about this, how you feel about that. And you're like, oh, it feels good. I mean, because coming from what we had in the Busch or the Xfinity series,
It felt amazing.
Yeah, and you were like, this feels amazing. He says, just wait till you come back. Well, you come back over there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
yes,
and you were like, your comment was, he was like, well, how's this one feel compared to what? He says, you were like, I feel like I'm sitting in the back of a school bus, driving it from the back seat of the school bus, and I'm way out here in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah. They put a damn ticking time bomb in that thing for qualifying for the 600, I think, or it might have been for the All-Star race. But I remember I could not believe how much faster that motor went down the back straightaway versus the race engine.
Right.
It was insane, the difference. You would think, oh, man, it's just going to be a couple horsepower, just a little bit better. You won't really notice it. That was what my mind was telling me.
Right.
We didn't change motors in the Busch series.
Nope.
So I ain't never had nobody bolt the qualifying engine in the car. And I ran that thing down the back straightaway the first time, and I was like, holy shit, I must be going 10 mile an hour faster into 3 than I was with the race engine. And, it felt like the car was way out in front of me, and I was like way behind mentally. Because in my mind, you out on the racetrack and you get in a rhythm with the car, and you know where it's supposed to be and where it is at all times, and that thing was trying to get out from under me.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing. We had some badass motors.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I mean, if you think about the Friday qualifiers, when we'd pull them out, put race engines in, but just listening to them when they fire up, when they're cold, just rattling and trying to tighten up and stuff, it was just amazing, that they survived.
Yeah.
Watching them smoke out the pipes and stuff like that, it was like, oh my God.
I know it. Yeah, we had some badass engines. That was one of the things I think that we did, that helped DEI have success so quickly was our engine shop was really, really good. When we won at Texas, Richmond, past Dad to take the lead at Richmond, which was badass. Dad would come into Victory Lane if he did. Right. Even in the Busch days, he'd come in there. They had happy hours, so he was quick. He'd come in, hey, good job, find you a ride home. I always rode with him on his King Air, but when we'd win, he's like, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
figure it out.
Figure your own ride home.
And but that night he stayed in Victory Lane with us at the All-Star race.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
That was, like I say, thinking back to them days and him, how you could just see the grin and the glow in him, you know what I mean, about how proud he was of just everybody in general, and even you. He was just like, he's seen, everybody accomplished this goal and this big of a race right here in our backyard. And he was just ecstatic.
Yeah.
Do
you remember, we go to Daytona in 2001, and we're out there racing all day long, and our first Daytona the year before, I thought went really good. I hadn't done well on the plate races. I'd wrecked just about every time we'd run the Busch car at Talladega and Daytona, and so I wasn't feeling a ton of confidence. I think I'd finally, in that final Talladega in 99, got a 6th place finish, and that was the first time I didn't wreck the car at a speedway, a super speedway.
Yeah, but that was the one I was going to remind you about.
What?
That Talladega race. Mm-hmm. You got ran down on the apron.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Skinner.
that was in with Dad.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in the Busch Series.
Well, I'm talking about the Cup Series part, you know what I mean, of that one. And I'll never forget, me and you, I just got off work, went over there, and we were going to go grab some food in town. And it was it had to be a Saturday or something because we worked half a day. And we were riding out there, and your dad was riding in. And he pulled up beside of you. Where y'all going? You know what I mean? We're going to grab some lunch or something in town. And he said something about, talking about, well, you should be able to working right now. Y'all should be able to working at the shop. And he got to talking to us a little bit. And then next thing you know, the conversation got on that race of you letting Skinner run you down on an apron, which cost you the race. Mm-hmm. And it just stuck, that conversation stuck with me for years.
Really?
Yeah, just because him like coaching you or pointing at you like, you had the opportunity to win the race, but you let someone dictate it. You shouldn't have, but you allow me to win the race because of that. Mm-hmm. And don't never let that happen again. Yeah. Pretty much was the conversation point.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? We drove on and he drove on, and it was like, that's always stuck with me for years, is that little conversation just,
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
we went to Daytona in 2000 as rookies, and we did good in our qualifier. I remember getting out and doing the interview at the 76 pumps and just being like, holy we freaking finished top 5. And then in the race, we run around and got beat around and pushed around, but we ended up getting across the finish line. Dad was madder than hell at the end of that race. That was the one where he said, I think Bill France would be returning over in his grave because of this aero package that we've got. Yep. He hated it. Or something with the plate. He ran like his car pushed all day. I remember one point in the Daytona 500 in 2000, Dale Jarrett was flying. Somehow or another, he lost a lot of track position. He was behind me. And we're coming down the back straightaway, and I see him coming. I pulled down in front of his ass, and he hit me so damn hard. It was kind of like, don't ever pull out in front of me again. I'm going to the front.
Right.
And I'm not, keep your slug-ass slow car where it is. Get out of my way. We ran that race. We got our car better. We got our bodies better. We went to Talladega. Should have won that race. I'm sitting there pushing. We got Bobby Labonte, me, Skinner. We're all kind of right there together. I was leading a little bit. Skinner got the lead. Bobby Labonte got the lead, and we're all kind of right there. Right. And then I'm sitting behind Skinner, and I'm thinking, I'm just kind of. He's doing a really, really good job of not giving me a chance to get underneath him. I'm trying to wait on him to catch him sleeping and give me a little spot underneath. And there wasn't a below the line rule yet.
Right.
But I mean, they would block you all the way to the grass down the back straightaway. And so we're sitting there running. And I see Dad on the outside. He's like 8 rows back, 6 rows back, 5 rows back. And I'm thinking in my head, I should have jumped in front of his ass.
Yeah, there was a chance, I believe.
I should have pulled up in front of him. But you know what? He would have kicked. I was thinking in my head, he would have kicked my ass or probably put me 3 wide and sent me to the back. But he would have been madder than if I'd have jumped in front of him. So I'm like, all right, I can't do that. And then I got to thinking about how bad he didn't like, how bad he kind of, I don't want to say how much he didn't like Skinner.
Right, but he didn't want Skinner to win.
And he didn't want Skinner to win.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there going, shit, I can't, maybe I shouldn't be pushing Skinner. I got to get out from behind Skinner. So I'm kind of lifting off of Skinner too, and that's even helping Dad, right?
Yep.
Finally, Dad gets to a point, I'm like, all right, I'm screwed. I've screwed myself. I should have just pushed the shit out of Skinner. I should have. And tried to pass him late. I should have kept helping Skinner with a lot of energy, but I wasn't. And it was allowing Dad to come on up by there. And but finally, I was like, I'm going for it. As soon as we got through the tribal where I could go left without wrecking myself, if I touched the apron, I was going to spin out. I got down there. Skinner's like, I ain't coming up.
Yeah,
I'm staying on the bottom. You screwed. And I didn't have the balls to like door him up the track because I was afraid I was going to create a crash and be the one to blame. But I should have just doored him up the racetrack and got him up the track. I don't know. You're probably wrecked.
I think that's what you were told later on.
Yeah. But I had to lift. We're going into turn 1. I'm like, I'm on the apron.
All right.
And I had to lift. I ended up 14th, I think, overall. But, yeah, that was a show from my end on that one. Hey, everybody. You want the latest Dale Jr. download apparel? Visit shop.dirtymomedia.com. We're always adding new stuff all the time, especially like when we say something silly on this show. We'll put it on a T-shirt. Again, check it out at shop.dirtymomedia.com. We get the Daytona for 2001, and, man, we are a completely different team from 2000. And 2 of the best cars there between us and Michael.
Yeah.
We all know how the end of that race played out.
Right.
I kind of want to know what you remember from your experience. I think I remember you being in the bus with us at one point.
Correct.
I went over to the hospital with Danny, and then I came back. What was that hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, 4 hours? I don't even know how long that was. From the moment the race ended up until we're in that bus together, what were y'all doing?
Well, we obviously you left off pit road.
Yeah.
We went through tech, started the process of rolling through tech. And I believe we got to the height sticks. That's where we were told.
Somebody come over there? You don't remember?
I don't recall who told Pops, but I do remember, Pops breaking. Breaking down, and trying to, and NASCAR pretty much said, just
forget it.
It's over. You know what I mean? And I've never experienced nothing like this.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I don't think none of us has, but in the same sense, it was, couldn't grasp it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Felt like you was them living a movie or something.
Yeah, and it was like, it was like, I can't explain it hardly now, but in the same sense, I do remember, I don't even remember really rolling the car out of there. I just remember, we went, me and Danny and Tony Jr. and Tony Sr., and a couple of us went to your bus. And by that time, you were already back, and then, that was what it was between all of us that, there. The only other thing I really, remember about is leaving the racetrack, going to the airport, just so much traffic, so much going on, piling on the airplane, and them pretty much shutting the airport down on the terms of letting us taxi down the runway and get out of there.
Yeah.
Getting home, and I believe me and you rode back to the house, or I drove you back to your house, and I do remember we got to the right there on Highway 3, right before, about a mile before the shop, and we stopped right there. There's a state trooper sitting there with the lights on, stopping traffic, and I was like, And I think you mentioned something about us, maybe a bad wreck or something going on down here. I mean, your mind was probably way beyond where mine was, but in the same sense, I knew why probably traffic was stopped. There was people walking down the road, and that's how far they were parked.
Yeah.
Way back there, away from the shop, and you were like, it must be a bad wreck. Where I rolled the window down, talked to the state trooper about, hey, you know what I mean? We're just heading to his house. He lives right up here in front of the shop, and he looked over and he knew exactly who you were, and we hauled Bud out of there, or hauled, up there towards the shop to the house.
Yeah.
And just people, and I don't know if you can remember then, or I remember, but it looked like on the terms of me looking at you, he's just like a ton of bricks about all these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just already lined up at the shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to me, it was like mind blowing, and you still couldn't grasp what was really going on, what we've been through, in the last 12 hours, just lost, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you remember the first conversation you had with Tony Sr. after that? What happened when you went to work on Monday?
Those Monday meetings were more on the terms of what needs to be done, getting things accomplished for the week of. But in that deal was, hey, we haven't talked to you yet. This was, what we were going to do next was your decision, which way we head from here.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard that yet, which,
Do you remember me?
I want to say it was later on, mid-morning maybe.
Yeah.
Before lunch.
What?
And, you were going to race, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we got the word back.
When did y'all see me next?
It had to be sometime around lunchtime or
on Monday.
On Monday, yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember just very few details around that whole thing. Like
I remember the highlight points of, I ain't saying the highlight points, but things that stuck in my mind. You know what I mean? Like the plane ride home, me and you riding home, right after going through tech and everything, and they said it's over. I remember them things, but you know what I mean? In the same sense, the Rockingham week, the week after, it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
Just
details.
because, them little fine details, because there was so much just stacked into 1 week that we done to, obviously, more than your dad and more than our boss, but in the same sense, it was, there was just a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Do you, we went to Rockingham. I don't know that any of us knew where we were supposed to be, but we didn't want to be at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't want to go sit at home. We had to race.
Yeah. Probably didn't want to be at Rockingham either.
We didn't really love Rockingham.
Right, no, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
We probably didn't want to go to Rockingham.
We could have chose other racetracks, but we went to Rockingham and we qualified pretty bad.
Yep.
Got ran into into turn 3. There's a lot of checking up. Guys trying to get to the bottom into 3, and we got turned into the wall. I just kind of overcorrected after I got turned sideways. But I was so embarrassed that crash, how similar that crash looked to Dad's. I was so embarrassed that I mean, it's lap 1. I knew everybody was kind of wondering, watching.
Yep.
And then for that to happen, I was like, golly. It would have really done me some good to run 500 miles.
Or just run half of it or something.
Just for it to be off my mind for a little while. Because driving a race car, you can't think about nothing else. It can really clear your mind. And I just, that sucked.
Right. And I think, even when, we were put out to race, the race was over, it started raining. Obviously, we went home. We were done. We put it in the truck. Just, listening to that race on Monday at the shop working.
Damn, I forgot it happened on Monday.
Yes.
Holy
So we were sitting there, and that
must have been surreal.
That's another highlight moment. You know what I mean? It's like you're sitting there, and, you're supposed to be in this race.
Yeah, and it's happening.
And it's happening and without you, and you're sitting there listening to it on the radio.
Yeah, that had to have been surreal.
Yeah. And that's just some of the highlight points of, like, what stuck in my mind about that whole deal.
Yeah. Do you remember much of the rest of the year? Kind of kind of a blur for me.
Yeah, blurry year.
I remember just going to all the races and seeing the tributes. Tribute. A lot of tributes.
A lot of tributes, but going back to the 4th of July race, to me, you know, that was a highlight, you know, of.
Did you know when y'all were building that car what you were building?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, and that's where I said, you know what I mean, from then on, and even for that race, but then on, Speedway racing, you know what I mean, there was never no stone overturned.
Oh, no.
I mean, it was full kill. It didn't matter if the back, you know, if we had Sonny or, you know, he needed to leave, you know, to get that tractor down there or that car.
Yeah, the truck driver.
Yeah.
Yep. Sonny McCurdy.
But in the same sense, it was like, we'll get you on the road in ample time to hurry up and get down there. You know what I mean? You may be.
Y'all tuning on it all the way up to the last second.
I've seen it, the back door come back, or the car come back out just to put the template back on. Just because they got to talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like, you didn't take enough. And we got it back out to take a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's just the mentality of working with them guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And what they instill in you.
Yeah.
The work, you know what I mean?
We had these spoilers, and I know that they would get down there, and Tony Jr. walked around with a file in his back pocket, filing on that spoiler all weekend. And every time it went through, you know, it's still passing tech? Yep. All right, we're going to file a little bit more. And, I mean, just filing just hairs off this thing.
Well, I'll tell you that. You talking about filing that spoiler and filing hairs. I don't know if it's 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5. I don't know which Talladega it was. Mm-hmm. But I do remember we went out and practice. We were mediocre practice. And obviously Pops went back up in the hauler. You might have been up in there. Tony Jr. walked up in there, and he came back out of there. And I'm like, I guess he was coming back out to figure out what needed to be changed on the car or whatever. And Pops pretty much chewed him on the terms of, you know, what are you going to do to make this thing faster? He said, well, what's wrong with it right now? He goes, you know, the damn thing can't keep up. What do you think? You know what I mean? You need to do something, make some damn changes, win this damn race. You know what I mean? So he come back out there, and I'll never forget Robert Yates, Doug, and all of them were standing off to our side with Todd Parrott and Dale Jarrett in the next garage over. And I knew they were looking at us because they were talking about us. Tony Jr. took the long template and laid it on the rear spoiler. And I held one side, and he slid it one side, and he said, put a scribe line there. I scribed it on one side, and it was like a scribe line 3/8 of an inch. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? Like that, and he grabbed a pair of snips and went down the side of that thing and snipped it right off and laid it on the ground, and the Yates boys flipped out. You know what I mean? Yeah. They were like, you know, their eyes just were like that big, you know, saucers. And rolled through tech the next day, and they put the rear spoiler template on it. He held one side for the guy. Then the guy moved over to the other side, and he slid the template. The guy wiped his hand on that side, and we rolled on. And the Yates boys were standing right there watching us, and they just shook. I mean, they
no telling,
no
tattletaling.
That's it.
I remember Tony Jr. showed me this trick. We stand out on pit road, and they would put the angle finder on the rear spoiler, and they would let you adjust it. And a lot of guys would obviously try to go through there either borderline or low. And Tony Jr. got it in his head that if I go through there really high, they're going to let me work it down. And so they'll start on the right side and go left. You know, they'll check it in 4 or 5 different spots, and he can work it down, work it down, work it down. The guy puts the gauge on there, and I'm standing there, and the rule's 45 degrees, and the damn gauge is 55 degrees. I was like, 55? Holy shit. They go through the whole process, right? And guy finally gets to the left side and gets the reading he wants, and Tony Jr. has adjusted this spoiler all the way across to get it down legal. And we pass on through. We roll on forward. They do that at about the 10th car before you go out on the racetrack to run your lap. So you're out on pit road in line doing this final piece. They didn't want you touching the spoiler till you got you out on pit road where you couldn't with it. And I see Tony. We get through there, and I'm like, Tony Jr., the damn thing was 55 on the way out here. Like, why would you have it so high? Why you got it way up? What the hell's it at now? And he's like, it's lower than 45. And I was like, how? He's like, well, if I have it at 55 and I put that left side down to 45, and then the next adjustment takes that to 45, the next adjustment takes that part to 45, that left side's getting lower and lower and lower. He's like, the whole thing's lower. He said, the only legal part now is the last part he checked. The rest of it's probably lower than 45 all the way across. I was like, holy shit. I mean, the things that he thought about and the things y'all would, I'm assuming, I mean, if y'all weren't physically turning wrenches, y'all were in an office or standing around a car talking.
Yep.
And bouncing off, shooting holes in all these ideas, right? And trying to figure out like, oh man, well, this is the process of tech. So if we do it this way, maybe this will open this up or free this up. And, some other guys are probably doing that too, but most everybody else is thinking, man, the rule's 45. I wonder if I can get 43 through, say roll up there with 43 and then NASCAR says, got to bump it up a little bit. Well, they adjust it up to 45.
Right.
And they're probably all going out on the track with 45 or more. And he's probably qualifying with 40 degrees spoiled on the right side where it really matters, The July race is probably a lot of people's favorite moment in our work together, and maybe in my own career personally. I don't know where you are on what's the coolest thing that ever happened to you. We can get to that later, but we built a rocket ship. What I remember about, I know that we massaged that car to the fullest, of course. But I also know one thing I think that inadvertently helped us that we didn't really realize that was going to be great. And it's something you can't really truly understand in the tunnel. But up until around 2001, we could tie the rear shocks down as much as we wanted and as aggressive as we wanted. And what we were doing to get the cars lower was basically raking the frame rails in the car. So we basically would just raise the frame rail up in the car in the back, and that meant raising up the driver, raising up the floor pan. Everything in the back of the car is going up for like 4 or 6 inches. You'd have a car sitting there that had the frame rails raked by 4 to 6 inches from front to rear.
Right.
And you'd get in that car to squat. And you would see these cars when you'd take them out of the trailer, they'd have side skirts on the back that were like 8 or 10 inches long. And the front of the side skirt would be like 4 inches, like a traditional height. And that's where you kind of see where the rocker and everything was kind of raked. Well, when they made the rules and took away those shocks and kind of gave us the shocks we had to race, a lot of guys went back and built cars without the rake because the drivers were up in the roof at this point. And they go get the driver back down, get the floor pan back down, get everything back down. Yep. We didn't change our car. We didn't build a new car. We didn't take the rake out of the frame rails. And I have to believe that car hauled ass all the way around that track, but it really run through the corner all the way off of 2. It would haul ass from the center of the corner off the corner. And it just get this little, they couldn't get a run on it.
Well, those were the time, like you're saying, they issued you shocks, rear springs, because they had a rear spring package and shocks. And when they were given to us, we'd stick a rubber in the right rear, or half a little rubber or something, just enough for it to sit on right there off of 2.
Yeah.
That little
That's
bit
right.
Of and I'll never forget watching people's faces when Tony Jr. would tape a rubber in that right rear.
Yeah.
And they were like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you see that stupid? But that's what it was for.
Man, it hauled ass. And it was, I think there was something to, however, that floor pan being raked, how much travel that car was getting or wasn't getting comparable to what it would do before with the tie-down shocks. Something about the floor pan in our car really helped that car maintain the speed it gained down the straightaway. It would maintain that speed through the corner. And I don't know whether those other guys getting their floor pans and everything back down created a bit of a vacuum and some drag when the car would compress and travel in the corner, and ours having the floor pan raised in the back would allow that car not to create drag and allow that air place to go. But it was something special.
But we were still playing around at the same time with the fuel cell height.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That
Up
too,
or
getting
down.
it out.
Getting it out. And
Raising it.
we went down there testing, and we had a cap on there that simulated that fuel cell. And we left that cap on the whole week down there and testing, but we knew it was better
Without it.
You
had it on there to sandbag a little bit.
Well, once again, everybody came back down there for the races, and they had their fuel cells lowered down, and we still had ours up.
Yeah.
You know?
took the cap off when you got home before you unloaded it.
it.
Yeah. I remember we'd go to Daytona and Talladega and test, and y'all would do like that. I'd be like, why is this like this? This is slower. You know it's slower.
Yep.
He's like, well, we don't need to take it off. It's okay to be slow right now.
Fine. It's fine. But beating it in your head at the end of the day,
I didn't figure it out.
You know, you were too busy. You know what I mean?
I'm like looking at the board. I'm like, I want to be faster. Make it faster.
Right.
Why is this? This is slower. Take that off. Like,
Yeah.
No, we ain't taking it off.
Right.
Well, it'll be off when it needs to be off, I guess. 2001 I think was a kind of a tough year, but I wasn't all that confident or sure exactly what was going to happen for us. I would have never guessed what we were going to continue to build our program to where we would be in 2004, where we'd run 6 races.
Okay.
But talk about the attitude that the whole place developed of, we're going to see this vision out. Now, I mean, I felt in my feelings about it, Kevin, was, we were all sad as shit.
Right.
But it almost made us go, we're going to do what he wanted us to do. We're all in this and we're doing it now. Nobody's leaving. We're all going to figure this out. We're going to make what Dale wanted to happen. Right. Is that kind of what
I think, yeah, that. You know what I mean?
Because a lot of people could have left.
For a lot of original people, I call original people, the old school 90 people, that was a lot of their vision is, Dale Sr., this is what he would want, being, how he want us to keep striving and racing. But also for us, also as a race team, your vision, of you showing up, wanting to race, pushed us to wanting to put you in victory lane even more. I
didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, us behind you was 100% when you may not have thought it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even some of the bickering and arguing that we've always have done, I mean, just because.
Yeah.
That's who we are.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, I think, us, having you is what we wanted to be able to carry that legacy on because of what we knew your dad wanted, but in the same sense, what you wanted, what you were capable of doing when we did give you good cars, as the pretty much the thing that stuck out to me about that race team.
I don't really remember too much about 2002 and
2 and 3.
They're kind of blurs too.
Yeah.
But 4
clicked. Opened up.
Yeah. We had, 2004 was a year where I feel like our bodies, talking about short track and mile and a half stuff, our bodies got real good. Like they were already pretty good, but we had a new car, right? And we didn't have the car from 2000, 2001. So we developed this kind of new body, and we were starting to really figure it out. We started to show speed everywhere.
But that's 4 years of us being in the Cup Series. We've all gotten smarter, braver.
Yeah.
Of our competitors, I call it. And I think that's one thing that's helped too.
Yeah. We were winning races at Talladega. We won 4 in a row. We won a couple no bulls, but I really loved the fact, and we got, people started saying, well, that's all that kid can do.
Right.
And I was so proud to go to Phoenix and win back-to-back races there, or go to Dover and win in 2001 and Bristol, sweeping Bristol.
Wow.
Yeah, that was badass.
That was, and
do you remember? You want to
Yeah.
know something about Bristol? I got burnt up in that Corvette.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of y'all knew what any of that looked like. Like for the first 2 weeks, man, I couldn't walk. Like I had to lay down. It hurt to walk. It hurt to stand up. Like it felt like all the it felt like everything was going to come out of this hole that I had in my leg.
Right.
And it's the strangest feeling when your skin's gone. But it felt like all the leg muscles and everything was going to come out of this hole in my leg. And I'm sorry if it's graphic, but I don't know how to explain it. It's very painful. And so anyways, me and my mom are having to change these dressings on this leg twice a day. And I got bad burns in both hinges of my knee. And I got a really, really bad burn on top of my thigh, on my left thigh. And there's no skin there. I don't know why they didn't graph it, but it literally is a hole about the size of a baseball that just had to heal together over time. And that hole got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller over the course of like 3 months. And my body just making new skin. And so we are at Bristol, and I'm still bandaging. I'm still changing that bandage. I got to go out in the bus and change it at some point in the day, right? And we're practicing. And I'm still kind of needing a little bit of help with my seatbelts and stuff. And you come over there, and I asked you to tighten it up.
Yes.
Tighten up the left belt. And you're yanking on that damn thing, and something slipped, and you punched me right in the top of the thigh.
I'll never forget.
Right in that hole in my leg. Holy shit. I don't know if I had to get out or whatever.
No. That was
the most painful shit.
There was a GD moment.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just hit me there. And I'm like, I didn't mean to, you know? And it was like, he's still healing over here, you know what I mean? There was some comment like that. And I was like, what do you, I mean, we didn't realize, you know, at the time.
We swept the weekend.
Yeah.
And I remember standing in Victory Lane as the champagne started soaking through that uniform into that damn
burning.
Oh, God almighty, it was stinging. It hurt. It was hurting pretty good. But I remember that was one thing that happened between me and you that I'll never forget. The other thing was, and I don't know what year this might have been, but remember when you broke your hand at Sonoma?
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
So
was that my fault?
No. So Sonoma's kind of tricky because you run around the car back, you know, I call it backwards, and then you got to do like some, you know, for a right-handed jacker, you got to do some kind of little damn spin, not like the modern day jackers I call them today.
Yeah,
carrying it around or doing whatever they do. But came around and hit brake dust at the left front or right front that was laying there, and I remember slipping, and the handle on the jack kind of jetties out, and I kind of just landed on my wrist and folded it backwards.
Damn.
And I could not pick that jack back. I just rolled underneath the car and jacked it up, and I remember just a throbbing pain, you know, in my wrist area to the point to where, you know what I mean, I could not even pick it up to set it on the wall. I had to, you know what I mean, just pick it up with one hand and set it over there. And I didn't know if I was going to jack the rest of the day or what was going on, and I'll never forget, you know, the comments started rolling in, you know, about slow-ass pit stops and this and that, you know what I mean? And I actually took my radio off and threw it, you know what I mean, on the ground because I was tired. I was tired of hearing the shit, you know what I mean? and Tony Jr. comes over and he says, "Can you jack? Do we need to find somebody else?" I said, "I'll figure something out in a minute. Give me a moment," you know what I mean? So I start trying to, you know what I mean, getting Walt and the other guys to wrap me up, you know what I mean, my wrist tight where I can use it, you know. But, you know, I didn't know how bad it was, and I had it stuck down in the cooler, and then I put my headset back on, and, you know, come to find out, you know what I mean, the comments were flowing back and
still
forth.
Going.
Yeah, still going. So I just turned it off.
I said something about to stop, and then Tony Jr. goes, "Calm down in there. We got a broke hand." I was like, "Broke hand? Who broke their hand?" "Two beer." "Oh, tell them to walk it off."
Yeah, walk it off. And but I was used to it at the time. I was like, you know, I probably said something at that point in time as, you know, I'll bust his ass when he gets out of the car or something.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You didn't say it like on the radio, but you were like, "I'm going to whoop his ass."
I'll whoop his ass when he gets out of the car or something like that. But, you know,
that was how it was.
That was the way we were, you know what I mean? And if you could not, and that's
you couldn't take it.
You couldn't take it.
You didn't last.
You didn't last on that team. You know what I mean? Yeah. You better have some damn solid ass underwear to wear, you know.
Yeah, that
was us.
You know, we had this incredible year in 2004, and I
hold on. Was Sonoma the race where they moved to Porta Johns on you up through the S's?
I don't know. Oh,
You went through the S's, and we were like fast as hell. And then the next morning we come out for qualifying.
We couldn't hit our ass.
And you spun it out, or we went off track. And you couldn't find out they moved to Porter Johns.
Yeah, my mark.
Your marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was. I wasn't much of a marker guy except for the road courses. We won all those races in 2004, and we're in a really, really good spot. We had a really rough playoff. I should have known better than to mess with Carl Edwards at Atlanta and got myself wrecked down the back straightaway. That was a chunk of points. We broke a rear end at Martinsville, which hurt.
But still had a chance.
We did. You know? We went into...
But they got us on Talladega, didn't they?
Yeah, I said got a couple of 25 points there.
Yeah.
That was frustrating. We go into Homestead, and I don't know what happened. I mean, we won Phoenix.
We won Phoenix. We won the Phoenix race. We won Phoenix going to Homestead.
Yeah.
And Kurt broke a right front or something.
Yeah. Well, wait, we are at Homestead. And I don't know why, but after the first practice, me and Tony are so damn mad we can't even speak to each other. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the was I thinking?
But
no, because this is how the split happened. That never should have happened. Never should have happened.
I know.
So, and I know you know that. We go into Phoenix, or we go into Homestead, and we literally had one. I don't know. We went through the whole weekend, and maybe it was after happy hour, and it was like 2 days of practicing and qualifying and happy hour, and maybe that was like the point to where it was like, I ain't even going in that damn holler if he's in there. We weren't even speaking. And I think I knew that I had a hard time with Homestead until the track got to where it run around the top, but I could not figure out how to get around that place when they reconfigured it. We weren't fast. We were struggling. We were arguing, hollering. Tony Jr. was getting tired of my and we really ended happy hour mad as hell at each other, worse than we'd ever been. This was like bigger. This was more than just guys just running their mouths at each other and it'll be okay. And that that we ran that race and just had a ho hum kind of day and don't remember it being anything bad or good. But
I think there was y'all still hollering during the race.
What do you remember?
I mean, I look back at that race as everything that we worked for all year, and we had an opportunity. And we let some opportunities slip by, and I think it just escalated that weekend.
Yeah.
Between the two of y'all. But in the same sense, it was, for the arguing part of it, there was nothing no different than it ever happened.
Yeah.
I was used to it.
Yeah.
I loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the same deal as I just, I didn't look at it as something that needed to to make what happened.
Yeah.
What
do you remember about all that? How it all, this is it's a safe space. You don't hurt my feelings.
The only thing I remember about, that whole deal going down is, after the season was over, is we're going to make a swap.
It was immediate?
I mean, yeah. And I'm sitting there going, where the hell did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
And we never really got any kind of, this is why. It was just, we're going to make a swap. And we're going to put Michael up here, and we're going to put Dale Jr. down there in the chicken house shop. Mm-hmm. And that's where that's how we're going to run next year. And I'm sitting there going, all right, But for me, you know what I mean? As long as I've been there and being around you, I was like, this isn't him. Why would he even want this? And I ain't saying I had any resent against you.
Yeah.
Through that deal, it was just, there was never no you walking up there going, hey, I made this decision, or someone made this decision for me, or, you know what I mean? There was never that.
Yeah.
towards us that's been there all these years.
Yeah.
And it was just, Tony Jr. coming up there, walking in with Tony Sr. saying, we're making this swap. And we'll put Michael in these cars and we're going to paint them blue. And I was like, all right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here we go.
So I'll tell you, I mean, I know you might have heard it since then, is a long time ago, but I had a responsibility in that decision. I was in the room when it was being discussed, and I didn't stand up and say I don't want this.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it might work, and I will say too, like halfway through the year, we were at Talladega. We had we kind of all were mad at each other for like the first half of the year. Then I wrecked Michael at Charlotte down the front straightaway.
Yep.
Which was the worst of it. Tony Jr. and Tony Sr. and everybody probably wanted to kill me then, plus some of Harvick's crew, because I almost ran over them on pit road trying to back into the garage. I remember we got to Talladega Saturday or something, walking around in the garage between practices, and I saw Tony Jr. And I said, hey, I feel like this is how I remember it. It's so vague in my mind. But I was like, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'll tell you this. I wouldn't mind getting back together. And I was hoping he would say the same, and he did. I didn't know. He might tell me to f*** off.
Right.
But I was like, man, I don't like this, and I don't know how you feel, but I'd like to get back together. And so that's kind of when the conversation started, I guess, for us to.
Yeah, I think it
was a big mistake.
Right. I do know for us and from Tony Jr., it was like, we're going to take what he had, being you, what he had, what he was sitting in, and we're going to go outrun him with it every week.
Yeah.
And we're going to show him at the same time we're going to outrun other people too.
Yeah.
And that was what was presented to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we, took that in, inside of us.
Yeah.
On, like, we're here to outrun you, you know what I mean? Because you left us feeling.
Oh yeah.
And I would say, it was weird, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'll never, forget. It was weird seeing you over there when you're supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And even when we were get wrecked, Charlotte, sit like tempers really flaring, through a lot of people. It was like, y'all need to stay over here and don't do nothing stupid. One of them deals.
Yeah.
Which we didn't,
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I'm glad nothing bad happened that night.
Right. I am too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because we might not have been able to get back together. There might have been hurt feelings.
But I think with it happening, I ain't saying it was a good thing, but it was a good thing, to a point that it showed, you and us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How close we really are, maybe, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I think, us getting back together after that deal kind of,
Yeah. I hated that it took all that for me to understand what I had with Tony Sr. and Tony Jr. Not that I didn't know what I had, but I felt like maybe anybody could make cars do that,
Right.
And I felt like, hey, maybe I need to go see if that's true. And I learned that it ain't that easy.
Yeah.
And I missed the trust. I didn't appreciate, I guess, the trust too that you have working with family.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what you
can't
got.
replace it.
You can't.
No.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, even if you didn't, let's just say, even though if you didn't bring your best A game, you know what I mean? But in the same sense, you knew that car was 100%, safe, 100% capable of doing them things because the people behind you.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, I've always enjoyed working with, you and, the Eurys.
Yeah.
That family atmosphere of,
Yeah.
we all had each other's back, even when we didn't,
Yeah.
on the terms of that deal there.
if I could go back in time, I'd love to have done the Bud deal over.
Yeah.
Because first off, 01, 02, 03 were a blur. I'd love to have had another shot at doing that better. And I would have never made that change to move away from Tony Sr. and Tony Jr. When we got back together, there was another sort of thing that happened that really maybe didn't have to happen. But I felt like, and I don't want to speak for Tony Jr. and Tony Sr., but I felt like that when I got back with Tony Jr. and Tony Sr., we go a little ways down the road together in 06, and I felt like I was feeling like Tony Jr. was getting a little restless. Like, hey, man, at some point, I want to know what it's like to be the crew chief, and like how long were we going to be able to kind of have him accept his role under his dad? And maybe I was making something that wasn't nothing. But it was there was an effort, I would say, within the company to have Tony Sr. shift laterally out of Tony Jr.'s way, right, and lift Tony Jr. up into that role. And I think that was probably something that was.
I don't think
not
Pops.
necessary either.
But I don't think Pops wanted to do that.
No,
because he was still in our shop.
Yeah.
Or I don't call it our shop. You know what I mean?
No,
But
I know. Yeah.
he was still there,
Yeah.
in there every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he you know what I mean, he was who groomed us to be what we were.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean, turning the reins over to Tony Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Pop still, you know what I mean, like even when your dad would, tell him, you know what I mean, he needed to back away a little bit and let Tony Jr. do this or that.
Yeah.
In the same sense, he was Tony Sr.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, his work ethic is just crazy.
Yeah. I think I don't remember much about 06. 07, we had some pretty decent speed. Car Tomorrow's coming in. We're running that car a little bit. But I remember a ton of engine failures.
Blow up a lot.
Man, we blew up a lot.
Yeah. I do remember going testing that thing at Bristol, and you freaking just complaining the whole time.
Oh, the Car Tomorrow?
Yeah.
It was so bad.
And you made me go get a set of welding gloves. These big, long welding gloves.
Yeah.
Mitts that we changed the brakes with. And you were like, this thing's like driving it. You're like just rubbing blisters on my hands. I need go get me them welding gloves. You actually went and made laps with it.
Holy
with them welding gloves on
Damn.
out there. Yeah. But that's when, that car, when it came around, it allowed you to run some bump stops and some different things.
Yeah.
And other race teams probably had some better stuff, or maybe a little bit more technology than we had.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same sense, we spent a lot of time in Lakeland.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We ran a lot of laps at Lakeland. I remember that.
Trying to figure that stuff out. And
Jesus.
it was just, we were like, this is the biggest piece of shit we're messing with,
Yeah.
from what we had.
It was tough. That Car Tomorrow was frustrating. Me and Tony Jr. decide we're going to go do this other deal.
Yep.
You had the opportunity to go.
Correct.
Why didn't you go?
Well, and I've told you probably before, and I've told Tony Jr., we've talked about this several times afterwards, since things have played out, and it was, like he said, that was the best decision you probably ever made. And this is him talking to me.
Yeah.
But at the time, in my heart, I knew, something just kept telling me it wasn't right, and I knew your dad was gone. He had been gone from us.
Yeah.
But I was the person, I was like, man, I'm there, I'm working at this place because this man gave me an opportunity, and I'm going to work here until either it catches on fire or they kick me out or fire me. You know what I mean? And I believe Tony Sr. was already gone. Mm-hmm. He was doing the Junior Motorsports deal.
Yeah.
But Tony Jr. told me, he pulled me in the office, he says, Two-Beer, listen. He says, it's over. The train is done.
Really?
Yeah. This is the comment. He was like, it's over. He says, as soon as you made your decision, what you were going to do, he says, you you have the opportunity, you can go with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I would love to. I told him, I said, I love you like a brother. I said, but at the end of the day, it just ain't right for me. I said, going over, it doesn't feel right to me for some reason. I says, and a lot of them might have been fear. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm not too proud to admit that. It might have been some fear of something new because of what I've always had, driving in that place every day, doing that same job I've always done.
Yeah.
But in the same deal, you know what I mean? I wanted more for myself too every year. I wanted something different. I wanted to, I wanted to be a car chief. I never really thought I wanted to be a crew chief, but I wanted to do something, a little bit more and a little bit more and build myself. And I was like, I told Tony Jr., I said, I don't think I can go over there and be your car chief. Am I going to be that, person? He said, well, I don't know, right now. He said, I haven't got over there and ironed out things yet and seen the team. And I said, yeah, but I said, I need to know these answers. I said, I said, if I stay here, I can do a year, and I could stay with Gibson and be a car chief, and stay here and not change nothing. Mm-hmm. And, for me, it might have been some hurt feelings, for me to you and from him, to me. But in the same sense, I didn't want that. I did not want to hurt feelings. And I was, every shape, form, fashion, I was like, man, I just hope they truly understand what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, when it finally came down, and we went our ways, separate ways, as years went on and on and on, and it was like he came back to me and he was like, dude, he's like, what the decision you made was 100% the way you should have went.
Yeah. He's
like, I couldn't, because I was, I was very vocal, outspoken, didn't mind calling you an or a dickhead if I needed to. Sorry about that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, at the end of the day, we worked hard and we knew what we wanted and we knew the people around us, you know what I mean? But in the same sense, I think going over there, I needed to be politically correct.
Yeah, you had to clean it up a
little bit. I had to clean up my, my church voice.
Yeah.
But in the same deal, Tony Jr. couldn't save me no more. And and I'm not saying he ever saved me at DEI, but he got me
protected.
We were all family, and I wasn't family, and that's the fear. You know what I mean? The fear part of it.
Oh yeah, that was the risk. I thought that was y'all stayed back. Tony ends up crew chiefing. Mm-hmm. You're car chiefing. Y'all had great success. Mark comes in there. Yeah. Y'all battling for wins.
Yeah.
At what point, I guess, do you decide? I know that team would end up basically moving over to SHR.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
But y'all went through the Ginn thing and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything got pretty much, to us, was told to get out of Highway 3, move everything to the Ginn building.
Yeah, which is just across Mooresville.
Right, so we moved all the 8 shop stuff to over there to Ginn and do the Mark Martin and Eric Amarola shared ride deal. And
what was the culture like in that building? Similar?
No, it was more work, but we were still up for us.
Still had all your boys.
Still had all your boys, small team, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But in the same sense, we stuck to them boys, small team. And then there was just a lot of other people wanting to know what we had, being spring, suspension, parts, and stuff like that, because
some new people,
right? And you didn't trust it, right? Right. And I think that was a downfall for me, being the outspoken individual, was never going to let nothing tarnish what Tony Sr. and Tony Jr. worked towards, spindle-wise, suspension parts-wise and stuff, and let that stuff get out there. And I protected it a lot.
Yeah.
And it damn near cost me my job over there in that portion of that 1 year, to the point to where, you know what I mean, management and me were face-to-face, and I told them, I don't trust in no one, never have. And my contract was a handshake and nothing more than that here. And they were not going to just come in here and take what we've worked all these years for, even though them people aren't here no more, but I would protect all this stuff until they, got rid of me there.
Did Gibson come to you one day and said, hey man, we're all going somewhere else? It felt like
he talked about it, and I seen Stewart, hang lingering, through the garage, and he was putting things in Gibson's ear, and Gibson came. Tony Gibson.
Yeah, Tony Senior or Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Tony Stewart
Was talking to
Gibson, and I really didn't know at the for like the first couple of weeks what he was talking about until Gibson came to me and he said, "Hey, I may have us a deal, you know what I mean, to either go, to Gibbs, or to a new team."
Gibbs.
Yeah, well, if Stewart stayed,
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean, he was wanting to restructure his deal over there, or he may go and start his own gig. That's all he would say. I didn't know it was called SH. I didn't know nothing at that time. And I said, well, just let me know, because I knew this deal here wasn't for next year.
Yeah.
But we ended up, doing the swap and all going over there.
Whole team.
Yeah. Picked up. And
how did that work? How does a team leave one organization and go to another?
They never, at the end of the day,
nothing they can do.
Nothing they can do. You never get fired. It's the coolest thing ever. I mean, you never have to go to this room or that room and they say, we're laying off these people and that people. You say, hey, I have a job. Now, this past deal, what I mean? Being when this got,
Well, you were at Stewart-Haas for 16 years until they closed.
From the beginning to the end.
Yeah, from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
What was it like when you heard that was going to shut down?
Well,
the form of it's still going today.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, when we all got together, all 300, whatever, in the lobby, we didn't know, what really was going to be told. We've heard rumors, but what really got told on the terms of just, we have nothing for y'all next year. We have a good severance put together, a good bonus program put together for you if you would stay to the end of the year. We understand if you can't, but y'all need to, explore your options, go look for jobs.
Was there a massive, FU to that, or, the leaders of that organization? Does that feel like they was turning their back on you? Or was it all like, hey, all right, we get it?
I think for me, the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
Year or two prior, the writing was on the performance. The performance wasn't where it used to be, what was accustomed to doing. And, a lot of times, like you say, you come in there and you used to, for me, when I went there, obviously Tony Stewart was your dad.
Yeah.
That's the way he presented himself and he treated us.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I loved the most about 16 years prior to that, being there. 3 or 4 years before the end, there was none of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had COVID, that year, and then obviously when this new car came around, you know what I mean? But you've vaguely never seen him, and listen, nothing against him, but you know what I mean? He was just as pissed about the performance as anybody else. But in the same sense, you know what I mean? If you wasn't a racer and you didn't understand the writing on the wall, you didn't need to probably be there.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
you still work for the Haas factory team.
I do.
So it didn't really shut down.
No, it just transitioned over.
Did you know?
And got smaller.
Yeah. So at one point you're thinking they're shutting it down.
Yeah.
And then soon after you learn, oh wait, they're not shutting it all down. And I might have a chance to kind of stay.
Right.
That all happens in what? How?
Well, we got told in May, of last year. We got all told in May that SHR was pretty much done. We didn't know that. Obviously in May we didn't know what was happening to this place. We just thought everything was going to be sold. And at the end of November, we were told at the end of November, whatever the date was.
Yeah.
You were not going to be allowed back here. So go look for a job pretty much.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a trying time, of going out searching, because I never really had to do that in this industry.
Sure.
And when you got 300 people trying to buck, and trying to find something in the same place you are is tough. That being said, transitioned over, in probably, I would say, November, I want to say probably, I want to say somewhere around September, got to talking to some people, you know what I mean, about the Haas deal, happening.
Yeah.
An opportunity to stay if I wanted it. And it was just, to me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what's your role today?
Pretty much everything that I was doing before.
Yeah.
And more.
Uh-huh.
I mean, way more.
Yeah.
And like I said, we are
whittled down.
Whittled way down.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking 300-some people, we're sitting there now, you know what I mean, with maybe 15 people.
Really?
On a actual cup deal. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Damn, that is tight.
Yeah. So we're we're doing multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wrapping a car this morning.
Yeah, but you're used to that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of doing it the way you started doing
Bush days.
Yeah.
100%. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I stayed.
Hey, do you think that the industry misses do you think the industry doesn't have guys like that anymore coming in? A lot of things have changed, COVID and other things, and guys aren't really like that gung-ho to be a jack of all trades.
Right.
Guys are more like, my job is this. This is what I'm in charge of. I'm not worrying about anything else. This is what I do.
Right.
Don't ask me to do this because that's not what I do. This is what I do, you know?
I mean, for me, I don't have the degree, but I am an engineer. You know what I mean? I can do it if I need to.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, specialized people, you don't have that jack of all trades that can do it all.
Yeah.
And there's few and far between those, those people like us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, man, I've enjoyed this. You guys have had a pretty decent year trying to get Custer going.
Yeah.
Your Busch stuff's running rather pretty good.
Yeah.
Got a couple of guys trying to win a championship in the Busch Series or the Xfinity Series. And yeah, what's your 5-year plan?
Well,
Status quo?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
keep it digging.
Keep moving. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah,
this is all you ever know. This is what you do.
Mm-hmm. How old are you?
I'm 48.
Yeah. How long you want to work?
Well, I'd love to quit today, but I can't.
Dang. Yeah, I thought you loved it.
Hey, exactly. But you also got to get paid.
You keep making money.
You got to keep making money.
I understand that.
Yep.
How often do you see Tony Jr.?
I see him regularly. You know what I mean?
What's that?
Well,
every day? Every other day?
I see him pull in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all live across the street from each
right
other.
across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he been up to? He's building race cars.
He's pretty busy now.
Yeah,
he's real busy. Yeah. So he's
lost a lot of weight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking good, actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Slimmed down to the old school.
Dude, he's under 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told him, I says, a little bit of scare like that got you all,
Yeah, he had a little physical thing.
Yeah.
It's all good now, but he's I saw him at the racetrack the other day. He said, how much you weigh? I said, about 185. He goes, I'll be there. I can be there in a week.
He's getting near us.
He's crazy.
Yeah. Cut out all that sugar.
I'm glad.
Yeah. He's doing good.
I know. Yeah.
I tried to get him out, no different from you. I tried to get him out there running with me and working out, and he just...
You're still running.
Yeah.
Working out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Try to.
Get out on the road?
Yeah. Not as much as I used to, but I do get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Well,
I appreciate you coming back through.
Anytime.
This was a fun one.
Anytime.
Yeah. Part 2.
Yep.
Kevin Pennell on the Dale Jr. Download.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that was part 2 of Kevin Pennell, or Two Beer. Two beers. Both are correct. And great to have him come back through, kind of finish out the conversation of his career and just fill some gaps and holes for me in my own memory. Great guy, hard worker, kind of a great example of somebody who's dedicated their life to the industry, and he's kind of been through a lot and seen a lot, experienced a lot. So very, very happy to have him come through, and he's a great friend, and I consider him family. So awesome to be able to have him come through. I enjoyed the first part of our conversation, so we wanted to finish it up. All right, so that's the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Another two-parter. Sometimes, it's up to me, I guess, when we bring some of those in for the second installment. I just felt like we didn't get to everything we needed to in the first one with Kevin. So hope you enjoyed number 2, and we'll see you next time.